وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Life is a non-profit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Good morning, everyone. Recent ceasefire in Yemen provides much needed hope for an end to devastating war that has claimed thousands of innocent lives. But will it bring a meaningful peace and unity to the country? Or will the different opt for dividing Yemen along sectarian lines? These and other questions, we have a group of distinguished guests. We have for the next hour Mr. Ali Al-Salahi, who is former Yemeni General in D.C., Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi, who is in the Yemeni community in Washington, D.C., and Mr. Abdulwlai Saleh Alradi, head of the Dar Alsalam organization in the U.S., and also senior advisor at Yemen's Ministry of Immigrant Affairs. Welcome to, and I want to ask our audience to please call us this number. I will give it to you in a second. If you have any question or comment, 248-557-3300. That's 248-557-3300. Let me start by asking three guests the same question. Why do you think we have in Yemen? Let's start with Mr. Ali Al-Salahi.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul Gawad. Well, the war in Yemen has started not in 2014 when the Houthis ousted the elected president Hadi. So the Yemeni state has war with Houthis since 2004 when they declared as a rebel group in Sanaa. So we had 6 previous war with the Houthis, and they took advantage of the uprising in 2011, and they entered Sanaa as a civilian during the Arab Springs, and they were among the youth. And when the Arabs initiative came and in place in 2012, they got into the they were part of the national dialogue, and they were part of the negotiation, of the political negotiation at that time. And after that, they were mobilizing, they were during the political negotiation between the Yemeni parties in 2012, the Houthis were invading other provinces. They went to Al Jawf, Hajjah, and they reached to Amran in 2014, August 2014. By September 2014, they took over Sanaa, and they signed what they called the peace and partnership agreement with the with President Hadi. Actually, at that time, President Hadi was trying to avoid civil war, and he sent a lot of delegations, and he agreed to a lot of what they had demanded at that time. In September 2014, they entered Sanaa. They suggested the peace and partnership agreement, and President Hadi and most of the political parties signed that deal, so to avoid civil war. And the only condition that President Hadi asked them to not go beyond Sanaa, to stay in Sanaa and to solve problems in Sanaa. But after 1 week of that agreement, the Houthis went to Aden, went to Marib, went to Taiz, to Hodeidah, and they put the President Hadi and the Prime Minister Bahah at that time under house arrest. So President Hadi managed to escape to Aden.
So, Mr. Salahi, without getting into so much detail, Are you saying that the Houthi started in Yemen because the Houthis had demands they wanted to impose by force?
That is the main method of politics. So they...
Okay, allow me the same question to Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi now. Go ahead, Mr. Harethi.
Well, good morning, Dr. Atef. Good morning to your guests and your listeners. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for having us on air today. I really appreciate the fact that you're putting the Yemeni situation on the spotlight. There's not so much media coverage, unfortunately, to what's going on in Yemen. And this is one of hopefully many discussions about what's going on in Yemen. So I really, really appreciate you having us on air today. Just like, more to add to Mr. Ali Al-Salahi has mentioned, the war in Yemen, or the situation that is happening in Yemen is, without going into a lot of details, is happening because you have a small militia. They began with probably less than 15,000, members, taking and fighting the Yemeni government, even during the late presidency, the presidency of the late President Abdulwlai Saleh. They had 6 wars. They would come into fighting. They would come into peace talks. Some other Arab countries would try to get into the peace talks between the Yemeni government and the Houthi, rebels back then. With the uprising in the Arab world, then Yemen was one of those countries. They participated. They were part of the Yemeni community. They were part of the national dialogue. They were part of following they were trying to be part of the peace talks in order to expel the ex-president, or the late President Ali Abdulwlai Saleh. And with the Gulf Initiative and the starting of the National Dialogue Conference, they were part of that, and they almost reached a key agreement, which was brokered by the UN and the Gulf Cooperation Council, to basically make sure Saleh would hand over his power to his vice president at that time. And in this national dialogue, I want to focus on there so that I don't have to waste too much time on what was happened before, because Mr. Al-Salahi has covered that. But after the Arab Spring, and to avoid a massacre in Yemen, to avoid not killing thousands of Yemenis, marching on the streets against the government, the national dialogue was a turning point for the Yemeni people, because it covers all parts of Yemen. It covers all political affiliations in Yemen. It covers every single member of the Yemeni community to be part of that national dialogue, which is to basically come up with a new constitution, to come up with a new parliament and hold new elections to fill this parliament, and to come out with a peace talk that will allow stability to continue in Yemen. It took about 10 months for this national conference, and at the end of it, the unfortunate thing is, while it was successful, the implementation of this national agreement and the outcome of it was a failure. So the Houthis and the pro-Saleh forces at that time, they were able to, like Mr. Al-Salahi said, took advantage of this weakness and the failed implementation of it. They put the president, who is now Hadi, under house imprisonment. He managed to escape. And with the pro-Saleh forces, because even at that time they were still in the thousands, they were not as massive as they are now. If it wasn't for the pro-Saleh forces to really help them take over the majority of the country, including almost all of the northern provinces, all the way to Abiyan and Shabwa, and all the way to the south to Aden. So, the UN and the Arab coalition worked out to have, and continue peace talks in Yemen, and the UN resolution 2216 came to confirm that Hadi is the only recognized president of Yemen. It calls for the Houthis to stop attacking Yemen, killing Yemeni people, destroying schools and religious institutions, firing missiles into the neighboring country, Saudi Arabia. And it calls for both parties, for the Yemeni government and the Houthis, to kind of adhere to the outcomes of the Gulf Initiative and the outcomes of the national dialogue. But unfortunately, the war continues to happen.
Mr. Harethi, who that Mr. Hadi is the head, the legitimate head of the was he elected?
So to answer your question, it goes back again to the start of the Arab Spring. 2 years in or 3 years in, when the Arab Spring started in Yemen, the government of Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Arabian Gulf, they basically put pressure on Saleh to hand over his power to the vice president, at least to calm down the people, and to start writing a new constitution and have a fair and open and honest elections to the parliament. It's basically to establish a new democratic process to allow people to express their opinion and to have a fair government. And with that Gulf Initiative, it also consists of having to bring all Yemenis together into a national dialogue, or Mu'tamar al-Hiwar al-Watani per se. And everyone, including the Houthis, were part of it, and they all agreed to the outcome of this national dialogue, because it was, again, brokered by the United Nations, and it was also brokered by the Gulf countries led by Saudi Arabia. And it took about, as I said, about 10 months, and part of that, the national dialogue, is dependent on the Gulf Initiative, which basically said the Yemeni president, the current Yemeni president, is the legitimate and the real president of the government of Yemen.
Mr. Harethi, because I want to move on. So what you're saying basically is that the Houthis rebelled or wanted against the legitimate president or the legitimate government in Yemen at the beginning. Let me turn to Abdulwlai Alradi and get his perspective on that. Mr. Abdulwlai, go ahead. Tell me what do you think we have war in Yemen?
First of all, thank you, Abdul Gawad, and thank to everyone who's with us online. And let's not be more idealism and go to reality. What we see in Yemen was a conspiracy from the external, from the outside, especially in 2011 and the Arab Spring Revolution, which was planned by Saudi Arabia, by the United States, by United Arab Emirates, in order to get the Houthi or Ansar Allah to the city of Sanaa to destroy the brotherhood inside Sanaa. And when they get to Sanaa, they look to everybody, and they see everybody as none of the party, none of the group, none of the political figures were patriotic, or as they say, more worrying about the country. They see everyone just look for power. The problem was more about forming power distribution, wealth distribution, civil jobs, oils, all the stuffs. So if we really we want to blame somebody, we have to blame everyone for the war. If we remember Hadi, before the Houthi get to Amran, or after the Houthi get to Amran, Hadi went to the Amran after they killed Qushaybi. He went to Amran and said, now Amran is back to the hand of the government. That means before that time, before that day, before the Houthi take Amran, the government of Amran, the province of Amran was in the hand of the Brotherhood or Alsalahi in the Yemen. So if I'm here, if we discussing why the war start, we have to understand and we have to take the perception and the view on the conspiracy around the whole region and what the decision made by the external, by others country to destroy the Brotherhood from all the Arab country.
It's all in one grocery store, and that store is Zamzam Fresh Foods Market. Zamzam Fresh Foods Market offers fresh vegetables, halal meats, a great fresh bakery, as well as nuts and spices and much more. They also offer special deals every Wednesday, so don't forget to ask for your favorite foods, as shish kebabs are ready to go. So please stop by Zamzam Fresh Foods Market at 24065 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-476-0300. Again, that phone number is 248-476-0300. And they are open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Zam Zam Fresh Foods Market is your one-place stop for all your grocery shopping needs and your favorite foods. If you have immigration questions dealing with wanting to visit the United States, wanting to work in the United States, wanting to study in the United States, or bringing your family to the United States, you need to contact Lagana and Associates Law Firm. Lagana and Associates Law Firm practice areas include family and business immigration and deportation. Dealing with cases overseas in the Arab region, for free consultation, please call their WhatsApp number at 001-617-283-1018. Lagana and Associates Law Firm offers experienced guidance that will help you with your legal needs as well as navigating the legal system successfully with confidence. Again, their number is 1-617-283-1018. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552, and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Back to our discussion on Radio Baladi, we are about the war in Yemen, and we are discussing different perspectives and points of view. A group of distinguished guests, and I would like to go back to our guest, Abdulwlai Alradi. Would you please educate me, our audience, educate the American society, who the Houthis are, what percentage they represent in the total Yemeni population?
The Houthi is a group of peoples who came from, they call it the north of Yemen, especially in Sa'da province or Sa'da city. And the Houthi is named after the village of Badr ad-Din al-Houthi, where he used to live. And their ancestors is back to the house of Prophet Muhammad. And they could be, we could say, even 10 or 15% of percentage of the Yemeni peoples. And Zaydi sectors. And that's all.
So they are representative of percent of the total population. Let me go to Mr. Ali Salahi and ask you, Salahi, what are the main ethnic or sectarian religious groups other than the Houthi in Yemen?
We have, well, to start answering your question, before this Houthi movements, we have not heard of any sectarian issue in Yemen. We lived together peacefully as Shafi'i, which is the majority of the sect in Yemen, Shafi'i, and Zaydi, which represent maybe 35%, and the Shafi'i is the rest. So we don't have sectarian issue in Yemen until now, until the Houthis emerged with this. It's not their ideology is not Zaydi. It's the 12th, like the Iranian method of Shia. So we don't have a sectarian issue in Yemen before the Houthis. And the Houthis, by the way, does not represent even less than 1% of the population. The Zaydis are against, the real Zaydis are against the Houthis' way of doing politics, of preaching Islam. Most of their victims actually are Zaydis, and they have started to attack Zaydis at the first place in Sa'dah, then in Amran, then in Hajjah, then in Sanaa. Those areas are Zaydis area, and Houthis started to attack the Zaydis, and they force people to be under their umbrella by force, not by convincing them. So
yes, Mr. Salahi, you just said that you don't have a sectarian in Yemen, but at the same time, you just said that the Houthi attacked the Zaydis.
So they attacked the Zaydis to create an sectarian conflict in Yemen, because the Zaydis lived together with the Shafi'is without any issues for thousands of years. We don't have such differentiation in how to pray. We used to pray in one mosque in Sanaa and in Marib and in Hadramaut. We used to get married from each other, and we are still the problem in Yemen is not sectarian, it's politics. The Houthis are using this sectarian issue to as a political card. So they want power, and if they were able to maintain power, they will not be as strict as they are right now, of claiming that they are representative of the Zaydi sect in Yemen. And as I told you, most of their victims are Zaydis, and most of their atrocities are committed on Zaydis areas. So it's politics. It's not sectarian. But the problem is now when the Saudis, actually, when the Sunnis see this kind of sectarianism in Yemen, and they will support the Sunnis in Yemen, and we will have more sectarians like war in Yemen. And this is the danger. If in the long run, if the Houthis maintain power in northern Yemen, it will not be stable. So we will have reaction from the extremists in the Sunni side, and we will be having like Iraq today or Lebanon in the past. So we have to tackle this as a political issue from now and solve it as a political problem, not a sectarian issue.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi if he agrees with you. Now, we know that at one point, Yemen was divided between North and South. And that was, a political division or an ethnic division or a sectarian division? And Mr. Harethi, do you agree with Mr. Salahi that the problem in Yemen today is not sectarian, but it is political?
Well, I think you really need to answer, to be able to understand the situation and to answer this question, you have to understand who the Houthis are. I do agree at the end of the day, this is also a political movement, because they take advantage of the mentality they carry, and they force people to follow what they believe in, to use it as a way to gain the attention of the world, and to gain taking over more lands and gain more political power. But at the end of the day, they are really nothing but more of a quote-unquote a cult, something that is introduced to Yemen, something that is new. Like Mr. Salahi said, I agree that Zaydis have ruled the majority of Yemen for more than 1,000 years. And when your guest mentioned who the Houthis are, he still knew those people are the descendants of the Prophet, peace be upon him, which I'm not sure if that is true. And if it is, you would have to understand why he said that. Because these people believe they are actually the chosen one, and they have the right to rule over you, to dictate what they believe on you, and you have to do it, otherwise you are in violation of their mentality and in violation of their thug and authoritarian mentality. They're really nothing but a backward regime, with violence and extreme chants, this to America, this to the Jews, and none of that happened. It's only this to the Yemenis and this to other minority groups in Yemen, including the Jewish and the Baha'i community. I do believe the Houthis bring more sectarian violence, and they are the reason Yemen is now having the war, because they have this mentality, and they bring nothing but death and destruction to the Yemeni people. Yes, at the end of the day, they will use that to gain more political power, but the way they began their war against the Yemen was because they believe they have the right to power. They don't believe really in democracy. They don't believe about anybody else. It's only about them and only them. If you are not a Hashemite, if you are not amongst them, you are classified as a different person. And as a result, again, they believe they have the right to power. They believe they have the right to rule everyone out there. And like Alsalahi said, which I agree, they believe in the 12-verse mentality, which basically, their loyalty is not to the Yemeni people. Their loyalty is not to the Arab world. Their loyalty is to the Iranian government, to the Iranian regime.
Okay, Mr. Abdulwlai Alradi, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi.
Okay, what I just want to say is, I always say reality is the king. If we really want to get the ship to out of the scene, we have to acknowledge, first of all, not underestimated the Houthi forces, not underestimated the Houthi population in Yemen. We have to understand, if it's 1%, as he said, 1% not going to hold that country for 4 years until now, against 27 countries or 22 countries that's attacking Yemen every single day. What I agree with both guests is the problem is political, is not sectarians, and everyone, sometimes they use their agenda to fuel his forces to fight others in order to gain political. As I say from the beginning, the problem is about forming government, distribution powers. The problem about the external from outside. The major problem to Yemen is Saudi Arabia more than the Houthi, who want to be our guardianship for the rest of Yemen life since 1934 until today. Saudi Arabia want to be the guardianship on Yemen, and today the Houthi doesn't fight for just himself. Today, many people in Yemen. That's why the Houthi is still holding until now, because people observe the Houthi as a resistance group or people who fighting for the sovereignty of our country, who fighting to break our country from outside dependency. And sectarians, as Ali said at the beginning, we've been living for thousands of years and we have no problem. The problem is what Ali and Al-Harethi believe in right now, not to open a real dialogue with the Houthi, not to acknowledge the people in Yemen. The Houthi is from Zaidi branches, and those people have been ruling Yemen for thousands of years. And it's now, I never heard a claim that saying Abdul Malik al-Houthi has to be the president of Yemen for life. What I heard from them is asking every faction or part of Yemen to came to dialogues. Let's open a dialogue, let's talk, Let's come back to Sanaa. Let's isolate ourselves from the outside factors. Let's do something positive for Yemen. Let's stop the war right now. Let's not talk every single day, every minute, things that's not gonna take us nowhere. Worrying about where the Houthi coming from, worrying about talk about fueling sectarian more than the effect of sectarian itself in Yemen. If the Houthi 1% and if they sectarian, they're not gonna change anything. They cannot impose their Ithna Ashariya, or they call it the 12s in the Yemeni people. The Shafi'i is 75% of the Yemeni people. So what 25% Zaidi could be able to impose 75 cents, change the 75% to the Houthi to be Shia or to be the 12th. So as we say, and as I always say, less of the Yemen in famine. The people is dying in Yemen, and if we still talking about why the war is happening, who is right and who is wrong, we're not gonna get nowhere. What we're supposed to talk about, how to get to the point to discuss a resolution, to find a solution to get out of this war. This is my point, and this is why I came here today, not just to discuss where the Houthi coming from and who is wrong and who is right. There is no time for right or wrong. All of them is wrong. I tell you, all of them is wrong. And
okay, Mr. Alradi, we will get back to that point and discuss it. And I also want to talk about another point: the weapons. Where do the parties get their weapons, heavy weapons, from after the break?
انتهى الاجتماع ومحتارين هناكل فين؟
من الآخر وبدون تفكير، أورشد فودز أفضل وأحسن قرار.
عنده أكلات طيبة يا ترى؟
أورشد فودز عنده أفضل تشكيلة من المحاشي والمشاوي والمقبلات والسلطات والفطاير، وكمان بتتسوق لكل احتياجات الجروسري والملحمة وغيره بأسعار خاصة بمناسبة الأعياد، والأحلى إنه بنفس المكان.
على ضمانتك أروح وأجرب.
ولو على ضمانة الشيف، وبجودة وخدمة ممتازة وسعر منافس، ولو عندك مناسبة خليها عليهم.
Orchard Foods and Grocery يقع على Orchard Lake Road بين 12 و 13 مايل في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. رقم الهاتف 248-516-3121 248-516-3121.
وعلى رأي المثل، لقمة هنية بتكفي 100.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's executive distributor, Ziyad Brothers Importing, at www.ziyad.com.
Life is a non-profit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
تعرفوا شيء، احنا كتير بنهتم بالمقبلات بالاكل الشامي،
واحنا بنهتم بالبهارات والتسبيكة في الاكل المصري،
واحنا نهتم هواية باللحوم وجودتها بالاكل العراقي، واحنا في مطعم عشتار نهتم بيكم. اعتمدوا علينا ايا كان. نحن في عشتار نعرف ان لكل مذاق اسرار، فنحن نقدم اجود انواع اللحوم من ملحمة عشتار الواقعة على 56865 راين رود.
عشتار، قصة حضارة ترويها لكم أطباقنا المميزة في كل زيارة.
تفضلوا بزيارتنا في 3625 East 50 Mile Road, Sterling Sterling Heights.
مطعم عشتار بإدارة فادي بهنام وعلي البغدادي. 586-698-2585. 586-698-2585.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion on Radio Baladi. We are talking about the war in Yemen with a group of distinguished guests, and I want to turn to the issue of weapons in Yemen. Now, we know, gentlemen, that Yemen and Iraq, those two countries, according to international statistics, have the highest number of weapons, and that means households have weapons, individuals have weapons, and so, but we are talking here in Yemen about heavy weaponry. And my question to Mr. Ali Salahi is, where do you think the parties, the fighting parties, get their supplies of weapons from?
Well, let's start about the Houthis' weaponry and where did they get their weapons from. And as you mentioned, Yemen is maybe the second country in the world after the US that people has the majority of people carries gun, and guns is everywhere in Yemen, and we used to live with gun. We have gun culture in Yemen, and for thousands of years without issues. We have traditions that organize guns, but the problem now is when you use guns to impose your political will. And this is new with the Houthi rebels. The UN has mentioned in many reports that the Iranian ships were captured on Yemeni coastals carrying guns to the Houthis, and they have catch 3, and we don't know how many shipments have arrived to the Houthis. This is one source. The second source is that when the Houthis entered Sanaa, they inherited Saleh's, or actually it's not the Yemeni army stockpile of weapons, and for your information, Saleh used to spend over 50% of the Yemeni budget on buying weapons over 33 years of his rules. So Yemen is full of weapons, and the Houthis now control most of the Yemeni army weapon. And then recently we used to have 300 Scott. Now there has been enhancement of the missiles, and we read a lot of reports that saying that the Iranian and the Hezbollah sent some engineers to Sanaa to enhance the missiles program of the Houthis, and we have seen that things enhancement when they launch a lot of missiles towards Saudi Arabia, and now they have this drones technology, and we are imagine how a how a group of rebels have this technology. So they have support. They have support from Iran and from Hezbollah, and they are getting a lot of cash, weapons, and the fight on Hodeida's port is mainly for this issue. So we are suspecting that the Houthis are managing to get weapons through Hodeida's port, and they are fighting until death to maintain that source.
Okay, Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi. Now, Mr. Salahi talked about the Houthis' supplies, but what about the other parties in Yemen?
If you allow me, I would like to, for probably a minute or less, to comment on the last answer, by Mr. Alradi, when he said, about how come 1% control the majority of Yemen, or let's now come to dialogue, come back to Sanaa. And the irony I see in that answer is really, we're talking about 2019 now, about some peace talks and coming back to talk on a table, the Sweden and Stockholm talks and all of that. But you have to remember that they have been in violation of all international agreements of the Gulf Initiative, of the National Conference Dialogue outcomes, which says, put your heavy weaponry down, give it back to the government, get out of Sanaa. The Hadi is the only president of the Republic of Yemen. And now he's telling me after they have dragged the Yemeni people into war and destruction for the last 3+ years, it doesn't really make sense. So I think we have to be honest, and to our listeners, to your guests, and to everyone who's going to listen and watch this show later on. Now, to answer your question about where does the Yemeni government get its weaponry from, when the Houthis took over the Sanaa and the northern provinces, and they continued to go down and down into the southern parts of Yemen, they did not really take over all military bases in Yemen. You have a lot of military bases that were still under the official Yemeni government. The majority of the southern provinces were not under Houthi. There were a lot of military bases in there. The province of Marib had a big base army in there, many army bases in there. They were not taken over by the Houthis. It is true that, like Mr. Salahi mentioned, Saleh used to, pile 50% of the Yemeni budget into buying military and heavy equipments, and he would store them and keep them into the areas around Sanaa. And that's when the Saudis started, fighting the Houthi rebels. The first targets they had in mind were those massive storage of and stockpiles of arms around the mountains around Sanaa and the regions around Sanaa. So yeah, the Yemeni forces currently right now, they still have a lot of stockpiles of weaponries from the past. They do still get some support from the Saudi government. The Saudi government also, in the Saudi forces, also the UAE and the Arab coalition forces, they do exist, and they are, in Yemen fighting the Houthis. So it's from both, from what was before and also what they get support from the Saudi government.
Mr. Abdulwlai Alradi, if you don't have a response to Mr. Harethi, I have a question for you. Why do you think the Houthis decided to accept a ceasefire in Hodeida?
First of all, I want to respond just not even 1 minute to Mr. Harethi. I agree with him about where the weapon come from. Abdulwlai Saleh left 50%, using 50% of the Yemeni budget, or the government budget, buying weapons. At the same time, and one thing good about him, he used to say to his general, lecture them, let's not asking them, let's not play with our weapons, let's not sell it, let's not do this, you guys gotta keep it, because one day we're gonna have a war with Saudi Arabia and nobody gonna sell us anything. But they say we still have shipment from the Houthi still have shipment from Hezbollah, or Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria for 3 years worrying, or more than 5 years worrying about Syria, about the borders of Lebanon. Iran's after the siege of Yemen, they can't even not even a small insect will fly to Yemen without supervise of the 20 countries or the aggression coalition. So what the weapons we have was left from Ali Abdulwlai Saleh, based in 85% or 75% of the country held by the legitimate government or Hadi people. I believe it is a myth, because 85% of the population in the north held by the Houthi rebels, and all their weapons where they got from Saudi Arabia, they got from United Arab Emirates. Let's see what happened in Hodeidah, where they get all their weaponries. You see from United Arab Emirates. The people, the army in Marib, in the province of Marib, where they get their weapon from, they have it from Saudi Arabia. Basically, everything was handed to Ali Abdulwlai Saleh was handed everything. Let's talk for real. Ali Abdulwlai Saleh was handed everything to the Houthi group or to the militia at the same time when they get to Sanaa. So Hadi was agreed to it. All of them was agreed to it. Everyone was playing a game in the other person in order to side with the Houthi so he could take off or destroy the other group. And this is what happened in Yemen. To educate the people who the listening, it was a conspiracy between all the political powers to get the Houthi to their side in order to destroy others. And you could
Let me, I have a few minutes left. Let me turn to Mr. Ali Salahi. And I want to ask you all to tell me briefly, what do you think is needed to end the war, to establish peace and unity for Yemen? Mr. Ali Salahi.
Yeah, thank you for this question, Mr. Abdul Gawad. If we go back to the root of this issue, we will find the solution. In Yemen, we had a national dialogue. It lasted for 10 months, and Houthis were part of it. And that dialogue outcome was a national document to solve Saada problems, the South problem, and to establish a new rule of government. So to make Yemen as a federation country.
So, okay, Mr. Salahi, because I am running out of time. So I get your point. You are calling for the parties to stick to the national dialogue, the document that is well established. What do you think, Mr. Harethi?
I mean, you have to understand that for peace to be achieved in Yemen, even the latest Stockholm peace talks, they are still founded upon the initial and the first peace talks and the UN Resolution 2216, the Gulf Initiative, the National Conference dialogue outcomes. All of those state that Houthis must give their heavy weaponry back to the government. They have to, let the government come back to Sanaa. They have to exit Sanaa. While I still try to be really optimistic and hopeful, I honestly do not think peace will be achieved in Yemen, and any plan to end war without putting more pressure on the Iranian government to stop supporting and helping the Houthi rebels, everything will fail. And
Mr. Abdulwlai Alradi, you have only 15 seconds, please.
15 seconds. Dialogue is the dialogue is the solution. People have to dialogue is the solution. Saudi Arabia have to stop the guardianship in Yemen. The international community have to press in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates to stop taking over the province of Mahra, Socotra, handed. I just want to respond to Ali and asking him to be seriously with himself, to be honest. What government the Houthi handed their weapon to?
Okay,
government at all, because Aden is under United Arab Emirates. The airport everywhere. So there is no government even to hand.
Mr. Hassan Al-Harethi, thank you, Mr. Ali Salahi, and I will see you again the first Friday next month. Have a good weekend.